Good morning. Before we officially start, I just want to take the opportunity to welcome our new chair of 2025, Fatai Tokalahi, and Vice Chair Dariush Davidi, who unfortunately can't make it today. So the floor is yours, Chair Tokalahi.
Thank you. I wanted to welcome everyone to our special meeting today, January 11. I know we have our first official meeting next Wednesday, so we're just going to follow. If you don't have an agenda, there's some outside the door if you don't have one. So we're just going to continue on with our agenda. And I would like to start by asking Lieutenant Abilene to please start with our roll call.
Yes. Thank you, Chair Tokalahi. Member Alm.
Present.
Member Alvarez.
Present.
Member Kamina.
Present.
Member Nguyen.
Present.
Member Ruiz.
Present.
Chair Tokalahi.
Present.
Alternate Member Locks.
Present.
And alternate Member Valdez.
Present.
We do have a quorum, Chair.
Thank you. So as of now, we would like to continue on with Lieutenant Abilene. Can you address I know we have this situation with interpretation, but with public comments for the meeting, please.
Because I think the volume is still low, but translation is going on, I will give the admonition addressing interpretation and public comment for the meeting. Thank you, Chair Tokalahi. Before we begin, we would like to announce that this morning's meeting will include Spanish language simultaneous and consecutive interpretation provided by qualified interpreters on the Spanish channel. I just want to reemphasize, if that is not working, we will also translate the entire meeting. If watching on Zoom, you can join the Spanish channel by clicking on the interpretation icon in the Zoom toolbar. It looks like a globe. If you are attending in person and don't have access to the Zoom meeting from your mobile device, please come and see me and we will get you set up with a listening device. As a reminder, we ask everyone participating tonight to speak slowly and allow our interpreter to effectively express your comments. Additionally, if there was anyone attending tonight who requires a listening device, the city does provide hearing impaired devices which are available at all public meetings. Please see myself or any city staff member and one will be provided to you. Closed captioning will be available via Zoom, and you can select the live closed captioning on the Zoom by selecting Show Captions, which is the box on letters CC. This is located on the Zoom toolbar options at the bottom of the Zoom screen. And now I would invite one second. Andrew, if you can hear me, can you jump on the main channel, which you are on, and translate that into Spanish? We're going to give it a try.
Antes de comenzar, nos gustaría anunciar que la reunión de esta noche o de este día incluirá interpretación simultánea y consecutiva en español proporcionada por intérpretes calificados en el canal en español. Si está mirando en Zoom, puede unirse al canal en español haciendo clic en el icono de interpretación en la barra de herramientas de Zoom. Aparece como un globo terráqueo. Si asiste en persona y no tiene acceso a la reunión de Zoom desde su dispositivo móvil, venga a verme y le configuraré un dispositivo para que pueda escuchar la reunión en español. Como recordatorio, les pedimos a todos los participantes de esta noche o de este día que hablen lentamente para permitir que nuestros intérpretes expresen sus comentarios de manera efectiva.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm going to invite you to stay on this channel, and if anybody during today's meeting does speak in Spanish, I will invite you to interpret that into English. This meeting this morning is being recorded, and members of the public can watch online or can call 669-444-9171 and using the meeting ID 898-5264-7245 #. There will be an opportunity for public comment for those participating in person. Each person will have 2 minutes to provide their comments, which we invite each of you to introduce yourselves by name before presenting your comments. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to now invite, public comments from the communities regarding the issues on the agenda. If you have any additions to anything that doesn't show on this agenda for this morning. For public comments. For the agenda. Which is not on the agenda, yes. Yeah.
Chair Tokalahi, if I may, I'd like to make a comment before you invite that public comment. Welcome as our new chair. Thank you for your service to the committee. Thank you for being here this morning. Happy New Year and good morning on this Saturday. I want to apologize on behalf of the city for this delay this morning. I know it's frustrating. I share in your frustration. The liaisons to this committee, along with myself, will make a commitment that this will not happen again. We will fully engage this coming week to make sure that we're prepared and we do not experience this again this coming Wednesday or any future meeting. So please forgive us for the technological challenges. Before you receive public comment, Mr. Chair, I would like to offer some comments. The city has received concerns centered on the disciplinary matter of Officer Nail. We have received comment in the community. We've received comment electronically. We've received comment in the social media space that's really centered on frustration around this matter, including the city's lack of transparency. I want to offer that a decision on the employment appeal was received from a state arbitrator on December 16th. The city was notified about that finding on Saturday, December 21st. I was out of state on vacation when I received that email. Immediately started communicating with the acting city manager and the city attorney to ensure that the information at City Hall was received. The arbitrator's finding is not it does not resolve the matter. There is still a pending criminal issue, and I want to just share this overview with the committee and with the community. As everyone is aware, the city retained an outside investigator that fully investigated the matter from July of 2022, determining that officers involved had violated various written policies of the San Rafael Police Department. Through that process, the police chief made a determination to terminate Officer Nail's employment. Officer Nail then, commensurate with due process, exercised his right to contest that termination. That included an internal appeal as well as a process known as binding arbitration. The arbitrator in that post-disciplinary appeal meaning after the internal appeal, the state arbitrator issued a written ruling in favor of the terminated officer, disagreeing with the city's decision, the chief's decision, to terminate the employee. The arbitrator reversed that termination, reinstating Officer Nail to employment with the city of San Rafael. Officer Nail exercised his legal right and contractual right to contest that termination for his employment. And the arbitrator conducted a fair hearing, hearing evidence from both the city as well as Officer Nail's labor attorney. The arbitrator has rendered his decision, and the city will follow that decision. That leaves us with the unresolved matter of the criminal allegation and the prosecution that is currently pending against Officer Nail in the Marin County Court. So Officer Nail has not returned to duty despite the arbitrator's overturn of the termination. And pending the outcome of the criminal trial, Officer Nail remains inactive, both through his certification process by the Peace Officer Standards and Training in California, as well as our policies prohibit anybody from working if they're under criminal investigation. So I wanted to offer that in anticipation of public comment on the matter that was discussed this week.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Spiller, for that, the updates. And I'm sure we'll discuss that a lot in the coming meetings for months. And now I don't want to hold up time, but I wanted to open up to public comments.
Is this okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
So my name is Nikki Silverstein. I'm a reporter for the Pacific Sun newspaper, and I typically do not speak during public comment. But I feel like this committee especially needs to know, and the public needs to know exactly what happened here, what transpired, and how this city is continuing its pattern of lack of transparency. On Tuesday, this week, January 7th, I received a tip from a very reliable source that Brandon Nail had been reinstated to his position as a police officer weeks ago, on December 16th. I went to the city's website and the police department's website to see, surely there must be information about this. The city has opined for years now that they are transparent. But no, there was nothing. There was no information about it on the website. So I contacted a command staff level person in the police department, and I asked them about this on Tuesday. And they said, wait until tomorrow, and I will give you a written statement. I have to contact the city attorney. And I agreed to do that because I wanted to present the full story to the public. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and no statement came forth. Instead, I received emails hour after hour after hour from this person on the police department's command staff saying, it'll just be another hour. It'll be at 2. It'll be at this time. And it never came. And so at 3:30, approximately 3:30, I published my story. And it struck me that the reason for the delay, the 24-hour delay that was forced upon me, basically, was because you didn't know. This committee that was formed because of Brandon Nail's actions, because the city had kept a secret that Brandon Nail and Daisy Mazariegos had participated in a use of force incident against Julio. And that information would never have come to light from the city. It would have only come to light, and only did come to light, from Charles Dressau, Julio's attorney.
Thank you. I'm sorry, but I know it's very important, but we got to stick with our 2 minutes.
Okay, well, you have a problem here because
Thank you.
you're supposed to be the committee that knows first. They delayed me for 24 hours from going to press with that story so that they could get their ducks in a row and alert you, this committee, and other people that they needed to before
Thank
the
you.
public heard. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much.
My name is George Pegalo, and I just want to say that this exercise, this committee, is exactly what should be happening in all communities throughout the nation, and that is public involvement in matters of concern. Law enforcement has been under a lot of scrutiny in the last several years, and I applaud you for your service. And it's important, I think, to make sure that a lot of members of the community are made aware of these meetings, particularly young people. But I'll be speaking later on agenda items as to the importance of that. But I applaud you for your commitment to opening the doors, to letting people know what's going on and how they can be involved and how we can work together to resolve problems for the benefit of all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, committee members. I'm Stephen Bingham from Terra Linda, and congratulations to the president on taking office. I want to speak very briefly to procedural issues of the committee, some of which I've raised before. Ms. Silverstein not being able to complete her statement is kind of exhibit A of something I have been urging you to consider for a long time, which is to allow 3 minutes for public comment. It's vital that you get a sense of what the public is thinking. You were in charge. You were an advisory committee. You can decide to do that. Now, that brings up my second item, which is, how would you decide to do that? You would take a vote. And you learned at the end of last year that you're apparently not allowed to take any votes. That's how this was set up, which I find particularly outrageous. And there were several committees in San Rafael that take votes. And I urge you, as the first order of business, to create a format where you can take votes. And the third item is the rule that I understood at the time, because there was a lot of excitement and distress over Gaza and Palestine and people talking at the city council meetings. But it's time to come back to a situation where people online, on Zoom, can comment and don't have to just sit there listening and unable to do something. And again, you're in charge of how you run your committee. So I urge you to take these matters up as first order of business. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the community?
How you doing? Jason from Gerstle Park. I just want to talk about this stain in San Rafael that just got rehired. The MOU for binding arbitration really needs to be re-looked at, and nobody could be happy with what's going on right now. I know the public isn't. I know Mr. Jimenez isn't. The chief didn't want to, fired Nail. The city now has to pay back pay. So nobody's happy with this. And right now, this committee needs to denounce this rehire. You need to collectively, I don't know, I know you have a quorum to deal with, but 2 or 3 of you can collectively, or actually all of you individually can make a statement. If you can't do it in this format because you can't vote on anything, then all of you, I think, have a duty to announce this. You know, this whole committee was born on the fact of what happened to Mr. Jimenez. And so, you know, advisory boards are designed not to have teeth, but that doesn't mean you can't bite. And so, you could do you could pen an op-ed in the IJ or something like that. You could talk to the Pacific Sun. All of you have you need to be watchdogs. You need to, you know, this is a committee that advises, that audits, you know, the police. And so, I think it is your duty to do that. And so I just want to get this on the public record because I think it encapsulates perfectly what...
Thank you.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about that later.
I think the issue right now, like we're just gonna keep moving on. I'm sure there was discussions about 2 or 3 minutes. We're looking at that hopefully for the next meeting, but not today. We'll stick with our 2 minutes.
Hi there, my name is Jerry Spolter, and by way of introduction, I've been living this for the last several years because Julio worked for me as a landscaper, and this has dramatically impacted his life, and he gets one insult after another, and this is not your fault, and it's not the chief's fault that this rogue arbitrator made this ridiculous decision. But I look around at your committee, and I'm so proud of the diversity that it represents, the community it represents, and I hope that you can combine together so that you're not just an advisory committee that the community can turn to and whitewash what has happened, but you can, as Jason just said, have teeth and make a difference. I don't know how you do it, but that's your purpose for being. I have another minute, one last minute, I believe, that I would like to defer to Nikki Silverstein if she can have my last minute to complete her sentences.
So we can't do that. Sorry.
Well, then give me 10 seconds to go ask Nikki what she would, had she had the opportunity to complete her statement, what she would have said.
Okay.
This is an example of how committees don't work quite right. But in any event, I was told that that Nikki was assured transparency, and since this decision was rendered on December 16th and is now January 10th, that we're finally learning about what happened, that transparency has to be a huge priority among your committee. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir.
Morning, everyone. Heidi. I wanted to start by thanking you for your service and congratulating you on finishing your first year. And I want to ask you again to reflect on how the PAC has supported accountability, transparency, and the changes the community asked for when developing this committee. You have a most important job to work with the police department to create a shared accountability in the community where everyone is treated with dignity and respect and safety is increased for the public and police officers. The police department knows how they want to do things. They know what they think works and how they prefer to protect and serve. Because the PAC doesn't receive complaints or review them, review RIPA data or reports on lawsuits, and because the agenda is set by SRPD, generally what we see in these meetings is from their perspective and benefits them. Please don't rubber stamp these efforts because the results many were hoping for with the formation of the PAC won't be realized if you don't bring the community's voice to all of these meetings. Chief Spiller's address on the website says that SRPD proudly provides public safety services and works to enhance the quality of life. Additionally, they are working to build a better community by providing essential services, quality of life programs, and enhancing community safety for everyone in San Rafael. This cannot be done without the input and direction from you and the other people that they serve. Have you spoken to the people most impacted by the criminal legal system about what's working for them and what isn't? Have you amplified their voices here? They're scared to come here. If someone asked you what you have accomplished this year that benefits the community, what would you say? How are you all seeing the work you have done this year as connected to the communities you live in? What's most important to your neighbors when it comes to how they feel about SRPD? What could we all do to open up new possibilities of full potential for everyone? For 2025, please think about the ways to center the community in these conversations so that collaborative changes can be made that work for everyone. And please tell us when you're doing this so that we know the work is happening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Lisa
Good
Doring. I'm a San Rafael homeowner, 10 years in this community, and it's a vibrant, wonderful place to live. But this incident has shaken me from the day that it happened. I see in your statement that you focus on strengthening community trust through transparency. And this entire process, from the police department, from the district attorney, has been riddled with lies and obfuscation that has eroded public trust. And I think, strengthening might be an interesting word. I think you have to establish trust. Our trust is gone. How do we know this isn't happening now with a different officer that is not being reported to us? We want to know what's going on in our community and with our neighbors. People feel unsafe. When there's no information, we fill that vacuum with fear and worry. And we expect our law enforcement and our city government to keep us safe and to keep us informed. And as this committee does your important work, I expect you to hold the police department and the city government accountable for this. We deserve to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anybody else? Any other comments from the public? Yeah, one more?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I hope you can hear me well. My name is Emilio Pineda. I'm very upset of this resolution to reinstate the gentleman, Mr. Nails. In this case, it is appalling to realize that this committee has no teeth, that it has no say to the police department on what they should do in order to keep our community safe. It is very important that you express your opinions in a democratic way. Each and every one of you owe us that for a fact. Another thing, this committee that has given the opinion that this officer should be rehired is putting the city into a position that shows no transparency. And you are the holders of that. Each one of you, please look deep into your conscience and the reasons that you are here for. And step up to the plate. Do what needs to be done. On a democracy, You cannot rehire an individual that had committed such a crime. And I am sure that if the police department has considered the chief here, he is a very valuable asset to our community, and I think that he will do the right thing. Any other thing will put the city into a sea of lawsuits against them. And thank you very much. And please consider very much your democracy
Thank you,
into
sir.
our community. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'd like to, do we have one more? Okay.
Hello, my name is Mike. I'm just kind of here to say that this is extremely troubling that this guy can be. I'm also a union employee, not a police officer, but this is where unions really let us down. Officer Nail is not an isolated case. He's simply the one who got caught. This happens all the time. The cops around here are horrible, horrible. I look at these two officers up here as being a member of this team, and I surely hope that they are, to provide us transparency and accountability. When events like Mr. Nail's event gets brought to the public eye, it really shows that that our trust in law enforcement is extremely critical, and I tell you, we don't have it. Our trust in you, officers, the chief, it's gone. So trust is not automatic. It's earned through accountability and fairness. Please show the people of Santa Fe that accountability is a priority, that bad actors will not be protected, and that justice will not take a back seat to politics, agreements with unions. None of that matters. I urge you to use your position to ensure that what's happening with Officer Nail is not repeated. Let this commission be the beacon of accountability, restoring trust in law enforcement by holding those in power to the same standards as the people they serve. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any other comments from the public? No. Okay, thank you. At this time, I wanted to close public comment, and then we're going to moved on to our first agenda item, which is 2025 work plan. And I would like to ask Lieutenant Aberle to please continue on that one, on the staff report.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Tokalahi. We came together today to develop a work plan for 2025. Last year, as you recall, we did it in two separate meetings. This year, we're going to try to do it in one meeting for the entire calendar year. The recommendation at the end of our meeting or discussion today is, one, provide the feedback for the 2025 work plan, so to decide 7 topics that we can address, and then 2, prioritize the targeted subject areas to concentrate on. I do want to just caution you, as we did before, the priority is going to also depend on what speakers you choose or we choose to come forward, so we might have to shuffle the agenda around or the topic around, but we'll do our best to present them in the order that you choose. Just for a recap, in 2024, you all wanted to hear about critical community concerns regarding recruitment and selection, law enforcement training, mental health and alternative response strategies, domestic violence, use of force, homelessness, youth and policing, and we did add an additional technology in policing in November of last year. Some of those topics you want brought back, but I'm hoping that today will be an efficient method. So I've come up with a game plan that I ran by Chair Tokalahi, so that I think we can all express our views and give everybody enough time to talk about what their priorities are today. So we're striving for this process that, like I said, ensure all the voices will be heard and the priorities will align with the committee's purpose, which is stated in the bylaws, which I'll go over. In the staff report, we provided you with some suggestions, and that's all they are, is suggestions. And the three that we suggested, based off a lot of your feedback and comments, were police academy curriculum, police culture and wellness, and traffic safety and traffic enforcement. Also in 2024, there was comments that we picked up on that you wanted to bring back, such as the police canine program, homelessness, technology, specifically drones and ALPR. I do want to say we are going to bring that back in April for the military equipment meeting. So that will shouldn't be one of the 7 that you picked today, because that will be brought back. And then youth and policing. I want to remind everybody that the bylaws and the committee's name were officially approved and adopted by the City Council through formal resolution and are currently under their purview. Should any members wish to propose changes to the committee name or bylaws, they are welcome to provide public comment at any City Council meeting or submit their suggestions anytime directly to the City Council. Next, I just want to go over and remind everybody the purpose of the PAC. It's right from our bylaws. It's the purpose, and some of our public comment addressed it as well. The purpose of the committee is to provide input and to improve public transparency and accountability with respect to the San Rafael Police Department, and provide greater community participation in making recommendations on police department policies, practices, and procedures, including those related to community relations, hiring, and training best practices. In addition to improving transparency and accountability, the committee would build points of collaboration between the City of San Rafael Police Department and the community. Additionally, the committee will review data and policies and facilitate authentic community engagement. Moving forward to today's process, because I understand it could be daunting. It was daunting in my mind to try to pick 7, because I know you all have great ideas. So what we will do is, after I conclude the staff report, there'll be an opportunity for the committee members to ask any questions on the process that I outlined now. After the questions, we will open up to public comment. Hopefully the public does have some suggestions on what we should focus on in 2025. Then we will bring it back to the discussion portion of the meeting, and that is where each member will consider potential topics for committee to focus on in 2025. I plan on moving over there, and I'll bring up like a Word document, and I'll write down everybody's topics so that everybody can look at it on the big screen. We should go down the line, or however Chair Tokolati decides to do it, but to give everybody an equal opportunity to discuss what topics they want to present and why they think that it's important. And then in the next stage, after we have a list of all the topics, we will go back down the row or the panel, and everybody will give their top 7, because there's 7. I'll make tally marks, and we might take a break after that portion so that I can add up the tally to see where we're at on the top 7. In case of a tie that results in more than 7 topics, we will just take that one tied topic or 2 tied topics, and we'll go back down the line of the committee members and ask each person to pick that one of their priority. And I'll make tally marks, and this will break the tie to ensure we finalize at least 7 topics. I did skip over the reason why we have 7, and just to reiterate for everybody else in the room, is because January, we are bringing back the annual report, and we have to discuss, or we are discussing AB 43, the traffic safety downtown speed limit. And then in April, we will be talking about military equipment, and there is no meeting in July. And then in November, we'd like to dedicate that full meeting to the annual report. And then there's no meeting in December. So then hence we have 7 to pick from. I just want to go over some quick guidelines, as you all are aware, but please be concise and specific when proposing the topics. But feel free to give your reasons why. We do want to hear your reasons. But for purposes of jotting it down, I might ask questions just to specify what the topic might be. Keep the committee's purpose in mind while prioritizing your topics, and respect differing opinions to ensure there's a collaborative process. That concludes my staff report. Again, we're just asking for recommendation to choose 7 topics and then prioritize them today. So thank you, and I'm open to any questions.
Thank you, Scott. Are there any other questions from the committee regarding the report or the process? Do you have any questions?
Chair Tokalahi, I'd like to indulge you and the committee and make a comment off script, if I may. I'm sitting here in reflection of our first year, which I would call a success, and I, like many in the community have shared, appreciate your service. As some have offered, members of this committee hope this will be a year of action. So I want to offer, as I sit here anticipating the year ahead, I'm reflecting on a comment made by a member of the public a moment ago. Heidi shared that we, the PD, know how we want to do things, and we know what's best. And I can't disagree with that. In fact, I've said that in meetings for the better part of 37 years. When I talk to the community, when I talk to members of our organization, that's why the interaction with the community and the feedback from the community and the work of this body is so important. We as public service first responders are trained, and we know how we want to do things, but what we want to do all the time isn't necessarily always in the best interest or in alignment with the community. Members of the community see things differently, and we need that diversity of thought. We need that diversity of perspective. I guess this diatribe or this editorial here is really an appeal to each of you as you consider what you want to talk about in the coming year, to be reflective of what you want to provide feedback for to the community, what you're hearing from those that you're aligned with, your constituents in the community, and to tell us what you think. This committee reports back to the council, and I serve at the pleasure of the city council, and we do want to make things better. We do want to improve things, and we need to hear from the community in order to do that. So, as you engage in this process today of identifying those topics and then launch into the subsequent meetings of 2025 to hear about these items, the feedback from this group is so incredibly important. And that's what's synthesized and captured in our annual report. We often get lost in I'm feeling, just looking at my liaisons across the room because I'm way off script here, but I'm imagining, the structure with which we operate. And you as a committee can take action during the year if there's something you decide today that we're locked into and something happens during the year. We have the ability to modify that. So I don't want you to feel like you're locked in forever, but this structure today is really important. It sets our roadmap for 2025. It's our work plan for 2025. So I offer all of this just to say how important your voice is. I offer this today to say how important it is that we hear from you and your perspectives, because we have a lot of training and we have a lot of experience, and we do think we have the right way to approach things, but not hearing from the community does not serve us, and it does not serve our ability to do our job effectively. We need this feedback. So this is just my appeal under the umbrella of a year of action. Your role is important. We take it seriously, and I trust that you all do as well. So, Mr. Chair, thank you for that 4 minutes. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief Spiller. If we don't have any other questions from the committee members regarding the report, I would like to open the.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I'm just going to jump over there so I can record any of the public's comments in your
Yes.
list.
Okay.
You had 4 minutes to do it while I was talking, Lieutenant. That was a softball for you to go ahead and
Transparency.
move on over.
We're getting there. We're getting there. At this moment, I would like to open up for public comments regarding the report. And I'm sorry to say, but we're going to have to stick with our 2 minutes for now until we make decisions on the 3 minutes.
Mr. Chair, point of order, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So are we going to be making suggestions of topics? Or you're waiting for the community to make
this is-
suggestions of topics?
This is public comments on the report. On Eberly's report.
George Pegalo, citizen and participant in the process of making our community more collaborative and serving the common good. I suggest that all of you look at the report that was generated or published in May of 2015, the President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing. And I'm happy to say that your chief was part of the process and actually was in Washington, D.C., I believe, when they rolled this thing out publicly. And not only did he participate in the creation of this important document, but he also implemented it in the city of Pleasanton. And he knows from direct experience how what this report suggests can make community policing a reality. And this is what we're really talking about, community policing. And we must remember that the community is composed of a variety of elements. And one of the elements, in my opinion, that is most important is youth. Often youth get a very distorted idea about what police do and how important it is that they be embraced as a necessary part of any community. That is obvious, in my opinion. But we have gotten in the habit of adopting a policy of adultism. Well, we know more than you do because we're older. That is a serious mistake. Young people are very intelligent, have access to information using the technology that we now have, and their advice and their observations, their wisdom about what works and what doesn't work in the youth committee is very important to this group. And I've spoken to the chief in the past about silos. We must smash the silos so we connect every part of this community with important processes like law enforcement.
Thank you,
thank
sir.
you again for your service.
Thank you.
May the force be with us.
Good try. Any other comments regarding the report?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Hanya from San Rafael. I think the Brandon Nail decision makes it even more clear that we need to take a hard look at police culture. And I know that that's a priority for you guys. I know it's on the report. But I want to echo what other people are saying and encourage you to think about how do we have a conversation around police culture that's not just hearing from the police department about the culture that they already have. Because clearly there's a problem with the culture that exists in the police department right now. I encourage you to look at who can you bring in outside, whether community members or experts on this who have experience in trying to shift that culture to have a police department where this kind of stuff doesn't happen. And it might be rare because this stuff happens all over the country, but we need outside ideas, we need outside opinions so that you guys can have this starting off point to have a real discussion about how do we change things rather than just rubber stamping what the police department already does and what they were already planning to do. I also want to talk about youth and policing. I understand that this topic might seem particularly relevant right now with the school district talking about reinstating their school resource officers. But I think it's really important that any discussion around youth and policing involve the actual youth that will be affected by that. That was not present in the last meeting you had last year about youth and policing. And I also want to caution you about what happens when you bring in youth to talk about these things that can be really traumatizing for them. We've had youth come talk at school board meetings, at city council meetings, and express their trauma and their experiences that they have in schools when they see police officers and outside of schools when they see police officers. And it's really difficult for them to share those things, especially when the committee that's listening to them ends up making decisions that go against what they just shared. And I've seen it happen many times. You have to keep that in mind. And we don't need our own drones. That's all I have to say about that.
Thank you. Any other comments regarding the report?
Good morning again, Steve Bingham. I want to just second the comments of the last speaker under the category youth and policing, an absolute need to have the voices of young people involved in that process, because that's typically not what's happened. And there were some comments made on the committee itself last year that suggested there was interest by a couple of you in possibly bringing SRPD presence back into the schools. And that debate must involve young people. The other issue I want to mention, I'm not quite sure how it fits in, and I've had a discussion a few times with Chief Spiller, but as you may know, pretextual stops all over the country very disproportionately affect people of color. And in Marin and San Rafael, people of color are 8 or 9 times more likely to be stopped. And I may be misquoting the chief, but I understood from a comment he made, not in a meeting, but we were discussing that that's part of the toolkit of good policing. And I think there needs to be a real serious debate. Remember, this is how George Floyd got killed. It was a pretextual stop. And they happen every day. Many of the killings at the hands of police around the country come out of a pretextual stop. And that debate is an important one. You can keep your mind open on it, but you need to learn about it, listen to experts who are not necessarily from the police department to get a better sense how to advise the city on what to do with that.
Thank you, Steve. Do we have any other comments from the public?
Jason from Gerstle Park. Police culture definitely needs to be a highlight, and not only training, but part of a way to change police culture is systemic change and policy change. And part of the way of doing that is, I think the committee should look into look into the memorandum of understanding and the collective bargaining agreement, and like binding arbitration, that needs to go. Some of this qualified immunity, nobody should be able to have a job after they've assaulted someone. And so I think that is something that the committee should look into, kind of dissecting and coming up with recommendations on how the memorandum of understanding can be changed in the upcoming contract. Also, I think you all should look into beefing up the bylaws so you have more power, so you have a chance to collectively vote on actions that you can make recommendations as a collective to the city council. you're only as strong as you can make yourself as strong as you want to be. There's ways to do that. Now, I heard that the only way you can make that change is to voice your concerns at public city council meetings. So, I'm on plenty of commissions and committees, and I always go to city council meetings, and I always try to make my voice heard. And, although some say I don't have power, my voice has weight, and you all could do that. And so, also when it comes to homelessness, there's a camp now, which has 50 people, but there's 326 people unhoused in Santa Fe, and 264 of them are unsheltered. And so there is...
Thank you, Jason.
Okay, all right. But just don't criminalize homelessness like other cities and towns have already started to do.
We got you. Thank you. Any other comments?
Okay, 2 minutes is really fast, so I'm going to try to talk fast. I would put check marks next to everything on there and also add information on the field training program and how to get authentic community feedback. And I'm going to really focus on culture. I know you're shocked. So please ask for an update on what changes SRPD has done with their culture. And by culture, I mean behaviors and norms, the way Mazariegos and Nail talked to Julio Jimenez Lopez when they got out of their cars, the way they brutally beat him, the way Ocon had them turn off their body cameras and didn't review videos, the way the department didn't address the incident until the video went public, dropping people with mental illness off in San Francisco, letting the tire business blare music while they were closed to prevent unhoused people from sleeping, the way they didn't announce that Nail got his job back, but kept this information secret, like the videos of the beatings and the report for the independent investigation. Lopez's attorney released the videos. Months later, both officers were still on patrol. Even though the independent investigation findings met the criteria for publicly releasing documents, the city did not share the information until they were sued. If firing Brandon Nail is news, rehiring him is also news. Questions about the steps the department has taken to change culture have repeatedly been met with the bad apple story and the claim that if there were other incidents, we would know. To say this is dismissive. It's a flexing of power without transparency. This suggests a culture of above the law, of secret keeping, of protecting their own, above protecting the community. The way the bully pretends to be the victim to add virtue to their violence and telling us we should trust them. Come on, they are the good guys. That's not how trust works. Imagine an audit of a medical office. They find problems with documentation. They fire the person who made the documentation errors, and they don't do anything else. That's not how it works. They would have to audit everyone's documentation, have a corrective action plan, mitigate risk, and tell everyone what they're doing. That's what we want from the police department. That's reasonable. It's part of it. Accountability and integrity. So please ensure that you're holding SRPD accountable for digging into a culture that has allowed people to be dehumanized and secrets to be kept from us. The PAC was formed for advising and increased accountability due to broken trust. Transparency about changes that have been made would go a long way in rebuilding trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Do we have any other comments?
Hi, I'm Nikki from the Pacific Sun. Building on my earlier comment, I asked this committee to include in their work plan seriously addressing the pattern of this city and the police department not telling the truth and having a pattern of lack of transparency. I was told by the city this week that they had been working on a press release for weeks about Brandon Nail's reinstatement. I will tell you, and I say this with 100% transparency, that it does not take weeks to write a press release about a police officer being reinstated. It takes hours at the most. It was all part of a plan to keep this secret from you and from the public and the media who could relay this information to the public. This committee is in the unique position of encouraging the city and the police department to be honest, to be accountable, and to be transparent about issues of public concern. I am confident that the only reason the city came forward this week with the information about Brandon Nail's reinstatement is because I made a phone call and told them that I knew and it was going in the newspaper. That is a violation of trust. It is absolutely egregious. And your committee is in a position to stop this kind of thing from happening. And I hope that you'll include that in your work plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. Let's see, we have two more.
Hello again. Lisa Doring. I just want to talk about the idea of human society and our culture. And we understand that people will do things that we do not agree with and are not in our societal pact, and that we need to address those issues. However, what we don't want to see is a process where actions are being taken or measures are being enforced that are also not part of our societal contract, and that's what's happened here. From the first minute that there was a violent racist act against a member of our community, all the way through the legal and judicial and administrative processes that land us here. And no one in this room is responsible for this decision to reinstate this person to a position of power. But I do hope that you are able to use your voices and let the city council know and members of the police department that the community does not support this. We do not want this. And again, it's not a bad apple. Somebody said a long time ago, the cover-up is worse than the crime. And when people deliberately hide information about things that have happened instead of stepping forward and saying, this has happened, it's terrible, we're going to do something about it to make sure it doesn't happen anymore, that's where we lose trust in our processes as a community. And so the fact that people are, coming down on everyone involved is no surprise. We want a strong community that's safe for everyone. Every person that lives or works or travels through San Rafael. This includes law enforcement. It creates a very unsafe environment when people are suspicious of each other. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Do you have? Yeah, Jason, you can use the mic.
But if you say it in the mic.
Yeah, you can.
I want to add strengthening the bylaws, the PAC strengthening their bylaws. I think it's important.
I didn't put it on there, Jason, because initially this is not the forum to talk about the bylaws.
But
it's
a work plan. They could work on it. They could work on it. Just put it on there.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Point of order.
Okay. Do we have any other comments? If not, we're going to close public comments. Thank you. And now we're going to move on to staff response to these community comments.
Chair Tokolai, I just need to toggle the interpreters.
Yep.
We have them both on.
Okay.
So in terms of the items, staff doesn't have any specific response in terms of the items that have been listed. However, I would just kind of remind the commission I have been in contact with the city attorney, and I know there's been a request for members of the PAC, either individually or collectively, to make a statement specifically about Officer Nail. And so I would just redirect you to that message and that the direction and the request to not make a specific comment about that case. However, general statements around police transparency or things of that sort, or how those relationships can be bolstered, are certainly fair game, but not to make a specific case, a specific statement regarding the Officer Nail case at this time.
Thank you. Any other response from any other staff members? No? Okay. I think right now we're going to move on to any comments or recommendations from committee members. And I think this is going back to our process on your packages. This is when we talked about all the topics, the issues that each and every one of you wanted to, put in for this year. We also listened to all the public comments, the concerns, and before you guys voiced all your issues in your topic, I wanted to read one more time the purpose of this committee. And this year, I'm going to make it a personal priority for this committee to stick with this purpose, do our job. We listen to the communities, we bring their voice and their concerns, and hopefully we'll do something about it with what we can do as a committee. So I'm going to read to you the purpose. The purpose of this committee is to provide, number one, provide input to improve public transparency, which a lot of you have brought up, thank you, and accountability with respect to the SRBD. Number two, provide greater community participation in making recommendations on police department policies, practices, and procedures, including those related to community relations, hiring, training, and best practices, which a lot of those you guys have mentioned. So we're gonna talk about that too. In addition to improving transparency and accountability, this committee will build points of collaboration between the SRBD and the communities. Additionally, this is the last one, this committee will review data and policies and facilitate authentic community engagement. So I want you guys to remember this for the whole year, because all our meetings and what we decide to do in this committee, I want to make sure that we stay in line with our purposes. So with that, I'm just going to start with whoever is ready.
I have a question.
Yes.
Where are you reading that statement from? What document is that statement from?
So the purpose?
Yes.
So the purpose was from our bylaws. Yeah. So in your bylaws, our purpose is on it. And I wanted to stick to our bylaws. And this is what we're going to do this year. I also like the idea that, someone brought up, this will be the year of action. Mm-hmm. I hope that what we're going to come up with today, our 7 topic or issues for this year, will highlight some actions or all actions for this year. Anybody else have something? If not, we can start with whoever is ready with your issues so we can start the process. And who's ready to start with their issues?
Okay, something that I have heard, like even when we are like having lunch with friends, is we in the community knows that like the prostitution is like they can go and arrest the ladies, but I think we should like work on that and make a plan, because it's like getting worse every time. And like I told you, I hear this having lunch with my friends, not in a community meeting. Yeah, I have heard that in community meetings or talking with my community, but also happens when I'm having lunch with friends. So I think it's something that we need to do something to address it, because it's affecting the community, the kids, and yeah, so for me, it's something that I would like to bring to the table because I have heard a lot about this subject. So that's the only thing, and I agree with some of the other ones that are already there.
Thank you.
Member Valdez, if you wanted to, the way we'll do it is I want to separate the public's suggestions from the committees, because I
Okay.
want you to decide on the topics that you want. And
Okay.
this is up there so that you can take from the public suggestions, and I can move it over to the committee members. Under the committee members' side, that is the side that will be tallying and voting and prioritizing.
Oh, okay, okay, thank you.
Which ones from the open comment sections would you like me to bring over?
I think the youth will be like really, to explore again. And I think also, sorry, I can't read without the glasses, so. Yeah, also, like I think Heidi mentioned like updating what you have done about like the police culture. I don't know where that one is.
Police
there.
culture.
Yeah, that one. Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, thank you. First of all, I want to thank everybody for appearing. I see some people have gone, but I think what you have to say is very important, and we appreciate hearing from you. The issues that I had before this conversation, the issues that I would like to see us look at in this coming year is not only police culture, but when people say police culture, what is that? What does that really mean? And what is it about that current definition that we need to change? So to get a better understanding of what people are concerned about. I also would like to know what's taught at the police academy, and so that if there are any changes that can be made from the beginning, that might be appropriate. I'm very concerned about police wellness. Most police departments, I understand, have shifts that are 12 hours for three days straight. I think this has been going on for 30 years now, and I remember when it started, and I think it's very, very hard for people to do that. So I'm wondering if we should have a topic on police wellness and the possibility of, I know the sheriff's office has started giving officers an hour of free time, not free time, but an hour that can be used for meditation, classes, exercise, something that will break up that 12 hours to keep them healthier so they can be provide healthier care to the community. So I call it police exhaustion. I think it would be appropriate to continue updating on homelessness. I actually support the idea of having a drone. One of the things that I'm concerned about from this group in terms of collective bargaining, I don't know that anybody is happy with the results of what happened. What's interesting to me is what the reporter from the Pacific Sun said was the timeline. As a civilian, I don't know what is an appropriate timeline for the police department to get news like this, and how quickly is it appropriate to release it to the public. I understand there was a problem here, but I'd like to understand what the process or policy would be and should be, so that it can be the most transparent and still follow your collective bargaining laws, which I refer to as it's horrible. That's not a very professional word, but it's a hard process. So I guess I would add collective bargaining. And what else did I write down here? I love the idea of youth being involved. I know of and actually I'm president of the board of a group called Speak Safe. The woman who that group is involved in is teaching youth how to express themselves and to know what their rights are, and so how to speak safe. So if you see something, say something. I realize it's not quite on target for us, but she has a great connection with youth, And I think that if we wanted to hear about that, and she also has a youth team, so it might be good to invite her to come just to explain what she does, because she teaches probation, hospitals, and all sorts of people about youth expectations. Let me see. Okay. And I agree on the human trafficking and the prostituted women. It's been an issue forever here, and it's very hard. Little girl starts saying she wants to grow up to be a prostitute, and I think we really need to understand what the process is and how people are harmed. Is that a long enough list? Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ximena.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Oh, sorry.
Can I speak Spanish?
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah. A mí me gustaría que estuviera en nuestra agenda use of force, el uso de la fuerza. Y me gustaría también que se tratara de la prostitución también en la agenda, porque yo vivo en esa calle y somos muchas familias afectadas sobre esa calle todas las noches. Es algo que no se lo deseo a nadie. Y también me gustaría lo que dijeron a las personas que están presentes sobre la transparencia, porque lo que está pasando ahorita, recuerden que este comité se formó por lo que pasó con el señor Julio Jiménez. Estamos aquí por ese suceso, porque si ese suceso no hubiera pasado, no estuviéramos aquí. Entonces tenemos que recordar nuestra posición en este lugar, y estamos para ayudar a la comunidad, no solo de Canal, que fue afectada en ese momento, sino todo San Rafael y todo Marín. Yo le doy las gracias a todos y espero que por favor lo que estoy diciendo, el que va a traducir lo diga exactamente, porque luego no lo dicen exactamente. Por favor, necesito que se traduzca tal cual. Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
He'll translate in just a moment.
Now you want to tell us.
I'd like for the following subjects to be included on the agendas. One would be the use of force. The other would also be of prostitution. This is something that I've been able to witness firsthand. It happens on the street that I live in. It's a situation that I wouldn't wish upon anybody. And the next one is transparency. I want us all to remember why it is that we're here to begin with. It's because of that whole situation with Mr. Julio Jimenez, that if it hadn't been for that, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here now. And to remember that we are here to help the community, not just areas like Canal, but all of San Rafael and all of Marin. Should I include the part too where she asked for interpretation to be precise? Because a lot of times it's not.
Good job. Thank you.
And finally, at the end, thank you all so much.
Mm-hmm. We'll come back to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come in.
Yes, excuse me, I forgot something. I understand that the community and the people who are speaking are saying that there's trust lost in the police department and that things are happening. And what I would like to do is have an opportunity for, instead of generalizations, if people can actually give specifics so that perhaps the department knows better what we know to work on, if that's appropriate or not. It's just a thought of how do we bring it from this is bad to these things are bad so that we can fix them. That's just a... And also, I really think it's a bad look for this committee to not have the tech I know you all are doing the best you can, but I accept the chief's apology and hope it doesn't happen again. Thank you, I'm done.
Thank you. We'll fix that. We'll fix that. We'll work on it. Thank you to the staff. Member Aum?
Can I defer to the end? I want to give everyone an opportunity.
Okay.
I hold that position.
You know me, I got a lot to say, but I also want to ensure everyone has a fair opportunity. And I want to hear everyone else's voices too. It helps me formulate my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Member Locks? Okay.
The topics that I'm interested for us to do for 2025 would be youth and policing. Theft and burglary, I have had experience with that, and I've also had complaints from the public saying that what has the police done to prevent theft and burglary. Police culture, transparency, homelessness, use of force, and that's it, what I have for now.
Thank you. We haven't heard from 3 members. No one?
Well, I just have concerns about the homelessness. I just want to, we have communities need to have some way to help the people in homelessness, to bring them to have a kind of like job, or find a job for them, or find a location safety for them in the. So that's the topics that I would like to interesting to bring in the 2025.
Thank you.
Relax.
Member Locks? You ready with your list?
I got the stank eye.
I forgot one more thing. You want to say your? I apologize. No problem.
And this is in reference to the stops. There was a report from RIPA in the Chronicle recently, which is the California Racial and Identity Profiling Advisory Board. And I know there's statistics on the website, but I think that would be a good topic to put on. And I promise that's the last one. Thank you.
Thank you.
For that. Yeah, I'm sorry. Good parliamentarian procedure, and as we've heard from the community, you review your bylaws annually. There can be a subcommittee that reviews the bylaws. The committee votes on the bylaws, and that's taken to the city council. What I heard was the opposite, and I'm not agreeing with the opposite. We don't ask city council, can we change our bylaws? We as a committee need to come to what changes we want to make, vote upon it, and then we take it forward. So I would like to see that as a subcommittee activity or as an agenda item for February or March, whichever. That's number one. About the police academy curriculum, and that came up because I'm very much interested in, as well as the culture and wellness of the police department, how it is taught. A curriculum is a piece of paper. I would like to have us visit a session in which the education is being provided. Perhaps it can be a recorded session or a live session, but a curriculum is a piece of paper. It does not say how it's actually implemented and practiced. I feel that the safety, the police safety and so forth, I'm trying to look at our purpose and mission. I think that that's an area of safety for the community, and how the police are implementing that is, we have to figure out what our role is in that. I'm not sure, but I understand that you want to present it, and are going to present it, and I appreciate that and have already started reading on it.
So, I'm sorry, Salama, did you say safety?
Yeah, the traffic safety.
Traffic safety,
The
I'm
traffic
sorry. Got it.
safety, yeah. I agree with the RIPA statistics being sent to us, and we've already established that we do have quarterly reports from staff on complaints. We're already implementing that, and I wanted the community to know that that has already been something that we are going to be doing going forward. And I guess our bylaws might be strengthened as to what the community was suggesting as to the types of complaints and our response to complaints, I think, came from the community. And then a topic that the community had brought forward to me was about ICE and the immigration process and how that is actually being done. I don't know if that's going to be, are we going to be impacted by that, by any federal changes and so forth? You know, what is our police department involvement in that? And then getting back to the culture and wellness of the police, yes, we do want to know what changes have been made. Has there been any implementation on the suggestions that have been going forth so far? Or if there maybe hasn't been time because we were in an actual learning mode rather than an action mode. And as I keep saying, this year should be more of an action mode. And then, what's the last one? The youth and policing. I would like to have us revisit that. And I actually have the list of the names of the San Rafael City Schools Board of Education. There are 5 seats, 4 are filled. There is a trustee vacancy for Area 2. Which one of you guys are from Area 2?
Terra Linda, isn't it?
No, I don't.
I thought I read in the paper it was Terra Linda.
Oh, I always thought we were 4.
Oh, maybe it's one.
Aren't you 2? Anyway, I don't know. Maybe they divide them up differently than how the city has. But at any rate, I think it might be appropriate to have us address or have a representative from the San Rafael Schools Board of Education present to us as to the whys and that they feel that there should be SROs, and I think we should support an actual auditing, like you're talking about the person that has students speak and so forth, and I know that Marilyn has also talked about it, and we've talked about it in the past, of actually doing a polling of the students at the high schools about their feelings. It can be very simple, but the documentation can be very valid. So those are my areas of interest, and let's see, I think that was it. I don't know that we need to revisit drones. And the police K-9 program, I think that was implemented. I don't know. The reason that this says we can revisit it is because we do not want our report to be, we want to put our best foot forward and have the report really reflect what we have done and what we are agreeing to. And therefore, all recommendations, all subject matter needs to be by a vote of this committee before it goes forward as a recommendation. It can go forward as a discussion, but not as a recommendation if we have not voted upon it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I support talking about prostitution and human trafficking, but I really want to just kind of separate sex workers who are willingly doing that. And I have concerns about criminalizing that. And I think the problem is really human trafficking, and I really want to focus on talking about that. I have a lot of concerns of us continuing to talk about homelessness in this body. It feels to me that we are criminalizing it and making it a police matter. It's a human social matter, and I don't want to continue talking about it anymore in this body. I don't see a point, and I don't see where we can have a productive discussion about that. I really don't want to talk about it any longer. The number one thing last year when I was out there in the community and talking to different people in different neighborhoods, their number one topic was traffic safety, collision incident reports, and just that whole ball of wax that's going along with that. That's the number one concern I always get when people learn that I'm a member of the PAC. That's the first thing they want to talk about. So I really hope we can prioritize that. I really love hearing about the culture, and I want to really just, for me, we can talk about culture, we can put a lot of things in paper, and this is what our goals are, but how do we measure it? What is the tool that we are using to ascertain that we are actually in line with the culture values? And I really want to delve into that and seeing what is our equity toolkit and how do we measure that? What is the scorecard for that? If we're going to have a topic of culture. Transparency is something I would really like to talk about too. And putting aside the incidents that have occurred, maybe a discussion on timelines, on when there's an incident, and this is what the process is. So kind of give me enlightenment on process. I would like to see that. I'm really interested in the RIPA data, and also what is the timeline for getting that? Complaint data, just internally. I would also like to understand what is our timelines for review and determination. Not necessarily getting into the what it was or whatever, but just how is that process? What does that process look like? Theft and burglary is a big topic of conversation in my neighborhood. I'm president of the West End Neighborhood Association. Last year, we had a presentation at our annual meeting because incidents of theft and burglary have greatly increased. Year over year from 2022 to 2023, there was a 25% increase in the data of theft and burglary. I'm really curious about what's going on with that also, and what are we doing to address that? I also support where is our role in the collective bargaining in the PAC, and what can we do for participation in that? I feel like the community should have a voice in the contract, and I don't know what that would look like, but I'm interested in that topic. New administration is coming forward. I would like to get some understanding on what that would look like with respect to ICE immigration. I hear you with that. I think that's a topic the community is really going to have of interest coming forward this year, and I think we should put a pin in that for sure. Police Academy, I really do want to know what's going on, just to get not necessarily a high level of what's, but that's the root of culture. It's created there at the academy, and then it's reinforced also wherever the police officer winds up. So I think that those culture and police academy could be topics that could be combined in one. Thank you.
Thank you. Lieutenant Scott, can you go back to the list of all the ideas from the public?
Right here.
There we go. Okay. I did have a list, but instead I listened to the public, and thank you for bringing these up, because I will support these as my issues for this year. With because I know we talked about, I support like youth and policing, and that's huge. That's huge in this community. Police culture, there's a lot of stuff we can work around that too, which include, the pre-tax stops. Homelessness, I still want to address that here with the focus shifted to, because I know the social services, those guys, they know what they're doing. The focus I wanted to see with the committee and what we can do, helping the homelessness communities, is with policing and community education. There's a lot of miscommunications. There's a lot of information out there about them and about the services that are in this city for them that a lot of community folks doesn't know. And some of them, they misinterpret a lot of those information. So I still want to talk about homelessness in this committee with what we can do, but with the focus on those two areas. Everything else, transparency is number one for me, since it's on our bylaws. There were comments from a union rep here before about restoring the trust in the communities. And I wanted to see the police culture maybe do a lot more work with the communities, getting involved, getting the communities to participate, maybe not just, like outside activities and events, building trust. I want to see that a lot in this city. Building trust in the ground level with the folks in the communities, including a lot of the young people. And we can cover a lot of the areas that we point out in this list. I think that's some of the stuff that I wanted to see this committee moving forward, looking at it. I know after this, we're gonna have to prioritize this list and come up with our 7 topic for this year.
So Chair Tokalahi, Member Nguyen, have you gone? Did you give it?
Yes.
She did? Okay. If everybody's gone, then the next step would just to be narrow this down to 7. Looking at this now, we have prostitution, human trafficking, youth and policing, police culture, homelessness, transparency, 1, 2, 3, 5, use of force, and RIPA would be 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are the top 7 that I have been taking tallies that you have all supported. We would take those 7, and then we would prioritize those 7.
I just want to note there is, Scott, there is a tie between, because you have police academy twice.
Oh, do I? Okay.
Yeah, for use of force. But I do know that
I do see that. You're right.
There was a recommendation to perhaps combine them with police culture, but that's something that the committee can explore.
Thank you for catching that. So what we could do is we could take this list and run a vote on a police academy and see what everybody's between police academy and RIPA and what is the priority, and then we would have the top 7.
I'm going to ask if we, yep. Okay.
What? Okay, I think we're good. Thank you.
Okay. I was going to ask if we can take at least 3.
A preguntar si
We good? 3 minutes, because I want everyone to look at the list. This is prioritizing the top 7. Let's take a 3 minutes break. Look at the list. When we come back, we got right into it. Yeah? 5. Yes. Thank you. I think we're ready to continue.
So the next step, the next step that we will be doing is, now that we have a full list, We didn't start off with this list. This is a list that you have determined to be priority topics. We'll narrow it down to 7. We'll start with Carla, and you will just say your top 7 that you have, and then we'll go right down the line. Everybody just says 7. I will tally them up, and then we will come up with the top 7. Yeah.
When we look at this, when we're looking at this screen, are we looking? Dang. When we're looking at the screen, are we looking at the right-hand side as the 7, and that's what we're voting on? Or how are we picking 7?
Both.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, both.
It's one list. So this is the list that you all just came up with. But we need to narrow this down to 7. So starting with Carla, what is your top 7? If you don't have 7, you could just say 3. If you just have 4, 5, whatever you'd like,
At the moment, I think I have 5. That is prostitution,
Perfect.
like youth and policing. I'm with Tokalahi that we should explore the homelessness in another, not like policing. Transparency, and I think ICE and immigration.
Great.
That's all the ones that I have now in mind. Sorry.
Thank you, Member Valdez. Member Alvarez?
I have youth and policing, police culture, ICE and immigration, traffic safety, or also with pretext stops. I don't know if that can happen. Theft and burglary.
Thank you, Member Alvarez. Member Nguyen?
Well, so far I have so far I have 3 suggesting police cultures and wellness, transparency, and the homelessness.
Great. Thank you. Member Alm?
My 7 would be human trafficking, and I think we can combine that with ICE. Maybe, as who knows? But I'll put ICE as a second thing.
You get 7.
Yes. Youth and policing, traffic safety, RIPA, culture, transparency.
Thank you, Member Alm. Chair Takalahi?
I'm going to start with transparency, police culture, youth and policing, human trafficking. What is that, 4?
Yes.
I'm also seeing a lot of the stuff that we can combine with other stuff. Can I put my last 3 on transparency? No, I'll stick with those 4. And homelessness, sorry. Homelessness.
Thank you. Member Kamina?
Thank you. I'm looking at things that can be combined also. I know that's not fair, but it seems to me that police culture and police wellness and police academy, is that too much for one topic?
I would just remind the committee, in terms of the feedback that you want to give us and to create the potential change, that we narrow it for a meaningful presentation that encompasses all that you want to hear, and trying to squeeze 3-ish items into one presentation and make meaningful recommendation might be a challenge.
Well, I heard that. Okay. Thank you. So I would pick prostitution and human trafficking, youth and policing, police culture.
I put that down.
Police wellness, transparency, and the collective bargaining, and RIPA. Is that 7?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Member Ruiz?
I would like the number 7, human trafficking, youth in policing.
Youth and policing.
Yeah. ICE immigration. Transparent, please.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Transparency.
Sorry.
Homeless, and police culture and transparency again.
Great, thank you. Member Locks?
Okay, so the police culture and wellness, the academy curriculum, the ICE immigration, RIPA is part of the pretext stops, isn't it?
No.
Is it RIP?
No. It's different.
Okay. How many do I have now so far? Is that
I think
five?
you're 5, yes.
Yeah. We're already doing the complaint data, so we're already doing that. The youth and the police, that's real important to me. The youth and the police. Do I have?
You could do one more if you want.
Human trafficking.
Great, thank you. So it looks like Chair Tokalahi and committee members, prostitution and human trafficking, youth and policing, police culture, homelessness, transparency, ICE and immigration, and then we have a tie. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we have a tie with 3 in police wellness, where we could, it's different than culture, but we have a tie with police wellness, because just to be fair, we did separate it, and RIPA. So now we will go right back down the line quickly, and you will decide if you want to hear about RIPA or you want to hear about police wellness. Carla?
Before we start, can you explain RIPA again? Because I'm sure like a lot of, especially our young member, need to understand this a little more. Thank you.
So RIPA is the Racial Identity for Profiling Act. It's a requirement that was legislated in 2015, and it requires police officers to capture 16 points of data on every encounter with the community, whether it's a pedestrian stop or a traffic stop. So all of those 16 points of data, race, ethnicity, age, gender, all of those reporting requirements are captured, and we're required to maintain that data. And the legislation of the Racial Identity Profiling Act occurred over a multi-year period of time, where the largest of agencies started to report first, and then we progressed, and then I think it was 2020 or 2021, I'm sorry, where agencies our size and smaller then were required by legislation to report. So we do monthly RIPA reporting on all of our officers' contact with the community. It does not include calls where somebody asks us to come to their house and investigate a burglary or a noise complaint or something like that. They're officer-initiated contacts, essentially. So all of that data, by time of day, by jurisdiction, is all documented and reported statewide. That's what the Racial Identity Profiling Act is.
And it's on your website.
Very good.
And we report, we also have an accessible portal on our website.
Thank you.
Okay. Member Valdez, would you like to hear about RIPA in 2025 or police wellness? I'm sorry, what? RIPA. Thank you. Member Alvarez?
RIPA.
Thank you. Member Nguyen?
I'm not sure what's this RIPA?
So this,
from police wellness or RIPA? That was like Chief explained.
yeah, we're voting on 2. There's a tie.
We have a tie too.
There's a tie. So you have to vote 1 from either RIPA or police wellness.
I'm not sure what the
RIPA.
RIPA.
He was just explaining RIPA.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other one is
Police wellness. So you pick one.
what? Say the police wellness.
Okay, thank you. Member Alm?
Ripa.
Chair Tokolahi?
Ripa.
Member Kamina?
Police wellness.
Member Ruiz?
Police wellness.
And Member Locks?
Ripa.
Okay, RIPA is the priority. So just for the record, the priority for 2025 is going to be prostitution and human trafficking, youth and policing, police culture, homelessness, transparency, ICE and immigration, and RIPA. Those are the priorities that I want you guys to understand we will commit to presenting in 2025. As far as, I know I talked earlier about timing and prioritizing these, I don't think we have to. I would strongly suggest that if you have ideas in each one of these, please send them to Teresa, Angela, and I, because what your feedback in regards to these is going to dictate when we can present. For example, if you wanted to try to get somebody from Santa Fe City Schools, and that was your number one priority, and we calendared that, we might not be able to do that based on the date. So this is our commitment to you to present these 7 topics in 2025. I thank you.
Thank you. Can I also ask if we can keep that list? Like right throughout the year, we'll always come back to this list, even though we have our top 7?
I think what we'll do is we'll memorialize this in the minutes. So it will always be there, and then Teresa will separate the comments from the public, so that will also be memorialized, and then the document that we had prior to this. So it will always be there, and it'll live online, and we'll also send you a copy.
It may serve the committee to visit it next year when you're identifying your priorities as well.
So are you saying you're going to list it, or you're going to say the community commented? Because because the minutes are very streamlined.
We'll list with the
list
under this agenda item. We're going to list with the public
stated.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. At this time, I know we started half an hour behind. We still have 2 more agenda.
Can I interrupt? And
2 more items.
I
Yes.
apologize. We don't. The staff committee reports and the liaison reports are not for special meetings.
Okay.
It's a workshop, so be happy to hear those reports out on next Wednesday. So,
with that point, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.